Hi guys, and welcome to another video from Kazakhstan. Today we're going to be exploring the National Mall of Kazakhstan. We're going to go all the way from the mall on one end to the presidential palace on another, and we're going to pass by several important parts which I'll tell you about in this video. In the distance, we can see the first of the major sort of tourist destinations on the National Mall of Kazakhstan. When I talk about the National Mall, I'm referring to like the National Mall in the United States. It goes from, I think, the Lincoln Memorial to Congress and maybe the White House. I'm not sure. So it's where all the government buildings are in one sort of line. This building in the distance that sort of looks like a sloped thing is called Khan Shatir, and it means something like the Khan's tent or the royal tent or something like that. In what is perhaps a sign of things to come, you see that this very poorly marked and dirty bike lane here on the right is also a place where people can walk. And you see that this person clearly has no shame in walking in the bike lane. Khan Shatir is a big shopping center or mall. It's round. It's a little bit difficult to navigate. You might not know when you have reached the end of it if you don't pay very careful attention to what you're looking at. There are a lot of luxury stores in there, but if you go down in the basement, there are pretty ordinary stores like a pharmacy and a grocery store and that kind of thing. It's really cool to have all of those things in one place, which is a little bit unusual. I saw somewhere, maybe it was some Kazakh propaganda, but that this is the largest tent in the world. I don't know whether it is really a tent or not. But it is true that if you look at it at the right time of day, you can see through the roof material to the inner structure, so who knows? You can see on the trees around here, not these on the right, but some of the ones before, that they're just starting to get leaves, and that's because it's just gotten consistently warm enough in the day for spring to really take effect. This is a really popular area. So this is one end of the National Mall, and kind of like the National Mall in Washington, D.C., you can walk from one end to the other. It is a pedestrian zone, as it were. Now, what we're looking at is one of the main problems, and you see this guy over here on the right is having that problem too. Kazakhstan is not a really friendly biking city. A lot of times there are, the curb doesn't have a place to descend for bikes. It's just you fall off the edge. Many times there's not a ramp. This ramp here is supposed to be a ramp for wheelchair users, but it's so highly angled that it's just ridiculous that anyone in a wheelchair could ever be expected to roll up or down that safely. But this is the norm in Astana. It's kind of not a good place to be if you rely on a wheelchair of any kind for transportation. I haven't, to be honest, I cannot think of a time when I have seen a person in a wheelchair moving around the city. That probably speaks to a bigger cultural issue than the lack of accessible sidewalks and that kind of thing. But that lack of accessibility certainly doesn't help. In fact, the only people I've ever seen using wheelchair ramps are people pushing strollers. You can see this abstract art here on the right. It's kind of a A lot of that kind of thing around town. I don't know why they have it. I think it. I think it's associated with some kind of modern ideal. Now, if I remember correctly, this building with the arch in it up ahead is some kind of government building, but beats me as to what exactly it is. A lot of the buildings on the National Mall, as you might expect, are government buildings, but they're not always marked in a way that you can easily see them. So we're coming up on what is probably the best accessible ramp I have seen in town. As you can see, the Kazakh National Mall is crisscrossed by actual roads that cars use, unlike the National Mall in America, which is just a huge green lawn. But the idea is that despite those roads, there are footpaths going completely through it. And that's why they refer to this, to the National Mall as like a crosswalk. In fact, they use the word crosswalk, which in Russian it means zebra, but I don't remember exactly what the word is. I'll put it up here to describe this. So they basically describe their national mall where all of the sort of sacred government buildings and really cool things are as a crosswalk. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but that is the name that I was told when I first moved here. And once again, we encounter the issue of the stairs. And I considered going around because you can probably go, to the right or the left here, and there will be a one flat sidewalk all the way down, no problems moving around. But I wanted you all to see what actually exists in the decorative part. Another very accessible ramp, making it seem like this place is a lot better in terms of accessibility than I first stated it was. You're seeing something here on the left that's going to be a theme. The National Mall in Kazakhstan has advertisements on it. And here we come to the first place where there's not a great ramp. I think there was a ramp over to the left, but maybe it wasn't so easy to actually use or get to. So right here we are starting to notice something off in the distance, this big white tower with something gold at the top. This is called Bayterek Tower, and it's a very popular tourist destination. You can go all the way to the top of it. I haven't been up there, actually, because most of the time that I have been here, it has been closed due to the pandemic. Up ahead, you see an advertisement. It's an advertisement for KFC. Very popular restaurant here. 2 of them within a stone's throw of where I live. Another advertisement, but I have no idea what they're advertising. It says red and yellow. Must be fast food. And yes, there's cola written on that, so something to do with food. Up here on the right, you see one of these typical little stores that pop up here in the park, selling things like ice cream or snacks or drinks or this kind of thing. On the right-hand side here, you see sticking up above the other buildings, Abu Dhabi Tower. It's a tower that was supposed to be finished in 2017. It has luxury apartments in it, a really luxury, expensive mall, and a really nice grocery store. It was supposed to be finished in 2017, but they're still working on it. Here on the right, you see that they have started planting the flowers for the summer. As you might imagine, having 4 or 5 feet of snow covering you doesn't exactly encourage flowers to grow in the winter, so they really do have to replant them every spring. When the flowers grow up, it will be beautiful, but right now it just looks like a giant patch of mud. A lot of the National Mall looks like that right now. More advertisements, this time an advertisement for pizza. Pepperoni pizza, it said. Well, it wouldn't be real pepperoni, but something like that. For that matter, there's not even real pizza here in Kazakhstan, unfortunately. Now, I want something cold to eat or drink, and I'm going to see if these people take a card. They don't take a card. They can only pay by bank transfer, which is really complicated as far as I'm concerned, and with cash, and I didn't have any cash on me. Sad to say. Now, we're starting to get a really good view of Bayturek Tower, so this might be a good moment to tell you the story of Bayturek as I have been told it by other people. So the story of Bayturek is something like this. There's a bird, a phoenix actually, like Fox, Dumbledore's bird in Harry Potter. There's a phoenix that lays an egg in a tree. Now, I don't know the full story. This is just the little bits of the story that I know. Like this phoenix lays her egg in the limbs of a white tree, and it's a golden egg because she is a phoenix. And this is some old Kazakh story, and it's presented as representative of or a symbol of the rebirth of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan was for almost 300 years, maybe more than 300 years, around 300 years, basically controlled by Russia. And so the rebirth of the Kazakh state in, 1992, after the fall of the Soviet Union, was supposed to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And this is what I have been told about Bayturek Tower, but I admit that that I wouldn't call this the official version. I'm sure that's written down somewhere, but I haven't found it written in English easily. So this is what it is. It's supposed to be a symbol of the city. And indeed, we saw a picture earlier, I'll put up a little bit of it here, that had this image or the outline of Bayturek Tower on it. And it is the symbol of the capital. Supposedly you can go all the way to the top of Bayturek Tower. I have never been up there because it has been closed for most of the time that I have been here. And I'm not really that interested in tourist destinations. If you come here at night, there are people everywhere. They sell these little neon things that you can spin around and make lights with, and the children are all playing with it at night. One of the great things about the capital here is that there's no shortage of parks and places with trees. Now you can see that the trees are not very old. This is because you have to remember that there was a city here before they made it the capital in 1999. It was called Salinograd, but this side of the city was totally, almost completely new, built after the capital was moved from Almaty to Astana. Had a little mishap earlier on one of the square ramps, so we're back to taking stairs, wherever the square ramps are. Now, I don't know what these two gold buildings in the distance are. If anyone does, you can tell us in the comments. I think there's something to do with the government, because most of these buildings up ahead do have something to do with the government. You can see here on the right more flowers to be planted, and in a certain pattern too, so it will be really pretty in the end. Now, as we come up these stairs, we are going to see the Kazakh White House. The Kazakh term is Ak Orda, which is a literal translation, I believe, of the term White House. It's a white house where the president lives, but you know, they added a blue dome to it. On the right here is something called the Singing Fountain. At nighttime, there are songs here played, and the water moves in some kind of tandem to the music. We won't get really close to the Kazakh White House. This is about as close as we'll get. This is probably the best shot we have of it. You might kind of wonder why I'm showing you these touristy things if I don't like them. Well, the reason is that I think in a lot of videos that appear or will appear on this channel, you'll see sort of the undeveloped or underdeveloped side of Kazakhstan, and I will complain about various problems that arise from this and that affect my life. But here we see the good side of Kazakhstan, the pretty side. This is a lovely place to walk. It's a park, essentially, that's almost 2 miles long. All right, so we made it to the other end, and you've seen everything from Khan Shatir to the Karawan Mall to Baytarek Tower, and now the Kazakh White House behind me here. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to see more content.